NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport, so the Jags can celebrate getting Nick Foles back. We go to the previously last remaining unbeaten team in the 49ers, Ian. They've got some injuries of their own that they're dealing with.
They do, and some of their key players, especially on the offensive side of the ball, though, it doesn't sound like any of these is particularly major. Let's start with Matt Breida, the speedster, of course, was a great guest on the Rap Sheet and Friends podcast last week, by the way. He's dealing with a re-aggravation of an ankle sprain. Doesn't sound too bad. They sent the results off for a second opinion, but my understanding right now is the plan for them to miss probably a week or two, a little bit of rest, a little bit of rehab, then should be good to go after that. Then there's a situation with Emmanuel Sanders, who left that epic Monday night game with a rib injury, and our James Palmer reports that it is more day-to-day than anything else. Sanders, at the very least, believes that it's not major and that he has a chance to play this coming week.
Yeah, definitely could see an impact on the offense when Sanders went out of the game in that loss to the Seahawks. We'll keep it with wideouts, Ian. Adam Thielen missed last week's game against the Cowboys. Is he going to be back for the Vikings this week?
Now, the early returns are not promising for Adam Thielen and the Vikings. They just opened up practice to reporters who are tweeting right now that Thielen did not have his helmet, participated off to the side, was doing some sort of stretchy band thing going on to the side of practice, which generally means on the injury report, players who do that are listed as not participating. And you would think if he's going to come back from this hamstring injury, this is going to be the week that he'd at least be participating in some form or fashion at practice. There's no firm word yet, no declaration, but this is not a good sign that the Vikings will have Adam Thielen this week, which really, considering this is the team who will probably be around for the stretch run, you want to have your best players at full strength. Maybe not a bad thing going forward.
Yeah, certainly not a bad move when he's one of the best receivers in football. And we have to get stretchy band thingy as an official designation just because the practice designations can be a bit bland at times. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport.
Saints have to have it. Fourth down. Brees. Pressure again. He's down again! The sixth sack of the day for the Atlanta Falcons. They've almost matched their season total. Unbelievable. And Dan Quinn, as you can imagine, ecstatic.
So here's the comparison for Drew Brees in the last two games. Remember that Week 8 game against Arizona was the first game back since having surgery on his thumb. He threw for 373, he had 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, and a passer rating of 116 against Atlanta. It did not work out as well. 87.9 passer rating, but he was sacked 6 times, the most he's been sacked since 2013. It ties a career high. And the Saints with another 9-point loss, this one coming to a Falcons team that just hasn't been pretty good. So to break this down, let's bring in our Hall of Fame quarterback, Kurt Warner. And Kurt, the Saints were so good, and the Falcons were not. They were having difficulty rushing the passer. People are looking for reasons that could be happening. Was it Brees?
No, I don't think it was Drew Brees. If you go back and watch the tape, I mean, first thing we have to realize is these are division opponents. They know each other extremely well. And so, you know, it's just like you say in high school, when you get to these rivalries, you can throw out the records because they know each other so well that the game's always going to be close. And if you go back and watch that tape, Atlanta made everything hard for the Saints. You know, every throw, there wasn't guys running free across the field. You mentioned it. I mean, they were after Drew Brees all day long, which is something that Atlanta has struggled with all year long. And so it was just one of those games where it just seemed like division rivalry. We're going to give them our best shot. We're going to go out and play our best football game. And it's exactly what Atlanta did. And it just made it difficult for this Saints team. And it surprises us all because of the nature where it was at and the nature of the way these two teams were playing. But Atlanta just outplayed them on Sunday.
Yeah, people were talking about the coaching staff shakeup, maybe being rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. It worked out for the Atlanta Falcons against one of the better teams in the NFL. A lot of people's number 1 ranked team in the NFL. Kurt, let's look over to the Dallas Cowboys. People still kind of reacting to that loss on Sunday Night Football to the Vikings. We saw a second and third down play late where the Cowboys ran it with Zeke Elliott instead of going with Dak Prescott, who had 379 passing yards. Does the offense still run through Zeke? People have said that for years. Is it Zeke's team or Dak's team?
Well, I mean, I still think the strength of their team is their offensive line and Zeke. So, yeah, I think it should run through Zeke. But the bottom line is if you're playing a game and it's not running through Zeke and you're not having success there, then you go with the other guy. And the guy that everybody, it seems, in that organization believes is their franchise guy. If that's the case, keep the ball in his hands. He's playing good football. He got you into position to win that game. And, I know it was about managing the clock and doing all that, but I looked at it before the 2-minute warning, and I'm like, why are you snapping the ball here before the 2-minute warning? Let it come all the way down to the 2-minute, and then they run it there. And then after the 2-minute warning, they're trying to run the ball so they can use the clock. And I just thought it was mismanagement, and they were trying to do something that they didn't have success with the entirety of the game. Dak was the hot hand. Dak was playing good football. Should have kept it in his hands, in my opinion, and allowed him to win or lose that game, because there's been few quarterbacks that have been better since Dak came into the league at coming down the stretch, making that one drive, and sealing it for his team. Dak's been very good in those situations. Why they didn't allow him to do that for 3 straight snaps, I do not know.
Yeah, you talked about the management issues. We heard from Jane Slater earlier, Jason Garrett acknowledging that they had some problems, at least with communication in those closing moments. I guess it's better to have those problems now in Week 10 than in the playoffs and late in the season. Kurt, let's look over to a game a lot of people are excited about, myself included. Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson on Sunday for the first time since they were in college in 2016. Who has the bigger impact on Sunday?
Well, I think they're both going to have a huge impact, and I think they both are going to play well. I just think when you look at Deshaun Watson, he's going to have to do more for his team than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is playing on a complete team. They can run the football. He can win games with his arm and with his legs. I think when it comes to Deshaun Watson, they don't have as many parts there. And in the games that they've won here as of late, a lot of it has just been Deshaun Watson being special, playing great football, making incredible plays. And I believe that's going to be the case again. If the Texans are going to win this football game, they are going to need a special performance from their quarterback. I don't necessarily think it's the same case for the Ravens, but Lamar Jackson's been playing out of this world. He's been playing incredible. I expect him to play well, but a bigger performance is going to be needed, in my opinion, from Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, perhaps borne out in the one team able to draft a quarterback at 32 overall and another team having to trade up to get theirs. It's some roster problems that come with making that decision. Let's look over to not a first-round quarterback, Mason Rudolph, playing for the Steelers this year. In fact, no, let's actually talk, Kurt, about this Super Bowl rematch. Eagles play-action passing. Is that going to be what they need to do to beat the Patriots?
Well, I think it starts with running the football. I think you saw the Ravens a couple weeks ago against this really good New England defense run the football first and attack them. They love to play man coverage. And so if you can get through the front seven and you can get holes there with guys chasing receivers and doing things down the field, it can create some big opportunities in the run game. I think it has to start there. And Philly has really been up and down all year in running the football and struggling to run the football. But I believe that's where it starts. And then when you do that, obviously the play action can help in those situations. But, New England is going to play man coverage the majority of the time. They want to stack the box and they want to stop you from running it because they're really good in the pass game. If you can change that up if you're Philly and you can run the football first, I think it's going to open some things up for Carson Wentz in the passing game.
It's been difficult to have success against this team at all this season. Going to be good to see what Doug Peterson and company come up with. Now we can talk about Mason Rudolph, Kurt. The quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers had a bit of a slow start. Have you seen improvement from him in any particular area?
Well, I think the biggest thing with Mason as he continues to grow into the position is playing to his strengths. And his strengths are the short to intermediate passing game, seeing things, getting the ball out of his hands. I don't believe he's ever going to be a guy that's going to generate a bunch of big plays down the field with his right arm. I think they're playing great defense, and he can play complementary football and manage things. And the biggest thing is not turning the ball over. When he doesn't turn the ball over, this team has been extremely competitive when they don't put themselves in harm's way. And that, to me, is where he's got to continue to grow. Was better this past week, but that's where he's going to have to play, the rest of the year if Pittsburgh's going to stay in this mix with that big game on Thursday night.
Yeah, both teams at a bit of a crossroads. We'll see it right here on NFL Network coming up on Thursday. You can see Kurt Warner's top 5 quarterbacks of the week on NFL Total Access tonight at 7. Thanks, man.